Welcome back to Naval Action. One of the things I've been asked to do, a few messages in game and a couple of PMs, is discuss ways of making money in Naval Action. So a couple of things, I guess. Firstly, I don't play Naval Action just to accrue gold. I accrue gold so I can play Naval Action. So that's very much my mindset, is how can I make enough money so I can participate in PvP, have the ships I want to have, and so on and so forth. I'd highly recommend against having like a target of just building loads and loads of money. It is expensive doing some activities in the game, such as building the higher end shipyards. It's 1.2, 1.3 mil to get to a level 3 shipyard. I think you also have to be cognizant that although there isn't one planned and it's not guaranteed, if the devs need to, they'll do a wipe and your gold will be part of that wipe. So very much as my grandma used to say, you can't take it when you're gone, son. Which I hope she was right, because if there is an afterlife and I rock up and then I'm not allowed in because I didn't save up enough money, that's going to be right annoying. Anyhow, so like I say, I aim to make money as I play. And yeah, in a minute, when I get into port, you might be going on. Hang on a minute, Jeheil, what are you doing making a video on making gold? You've only got 500,000. Well, that's true. I've got 500,000, but I've also got a good swatch of buildings. I've got a dozen ships. I've leveled my crafting up to level 29, and I've only been on this server for, what, 15 days, I think now. So for me, I've never been in a situation where I couldn't buy a new port, and I've got half a dozen ports, or the ship I needed, or the building I wanted, due to lack of money. So like I say, I make money. I probably spend 70% of my time trying to play in PvP and clan organised shenanigans. 10% pottering around doing a bit of crafting, because I do like the idea of building up my own ships. And really it's only the shrapnel time, 10 or 15% of my time I spend trying to basically gather gold. So, how can you make money? Well, there's probably four quite different ways of making money, and I think many of them are sort of universal standards. So, of course, one is fighting, one is war, one is trading, one is crafting, and one is prostitution. So they're the four primary ways you can make money in naval action. So let's just go through those different ways of making money. So the first one is fighting. And if you've just started the game, really the first things you need to start doing is getting yourself some missions. I do have a video up on doing your first missions. Get yourself a mission. I am post captain, so the post captain missions are the most efficient for me. And with a post captain mission, I'll earn, as it says here, I'll earn 5,000 gold. That's rather pitiful, and a bunch of XP. We're not focusing on XP in this video. But in doing that mission, let's say I come up against 2 Serbs or I come up against a frigate, I'll earn another, depending on stuff and things, I'll earn between 18 and 25,000 gold. So actually I'll be picking up 30,000 gold a mission, so that's 90,000 gold for 3 missions. They tend to be reasonably close to each other, but there's probably still the best part of 40 minutes sailing across those, and that one's pretty hopeless. It's right in the middle of the shallows and I'm in deep water ships, so I'll have to get rid of that. So one of the things I do with missions is I might decide I'm going to do this one and this one. So I'll sail to this one, I will use a repair kit, that costs money, and then I'll sail to this one, but on the way to this one I will stop off at Port Morant and grab another one, and hopefully it'll pop up around here or something like that, and not in the bloody shallows down here. And so I can keep a little train of missions just by stopping off the ports I sail by and picking up missions, maybe cancelling this one because it's stupid. and easily keep the missions rolling in. And you know, I don't really want to do a gold per hour, but you'll pick up 100,000 gold per hour doing that. And 100,000 gold per hour, even at my level, means after 2 or 3 hours of playing, you've probably earned enough money to buy yourself quite a nice ship if that's what you want to do with it, or to get your level 2 shipyard. Pardon me. Now the other way of doing it is what's called AI. Oh, sorry, just before I move on, what you should be really aware of when you're doing missions is the gold reward is based on damage done. So take down one side of a ship's armor, because that begins to make it sink, and you can kill crew and cannons. But I'd strongly recommend you then tack behind the ship, take its bottom off with a stern rake. You should only need to do one, maximum 2 stern rakes to remove its stern armor. And then flip onto the other side. So if you've taken the armor down on starboard, flip over and take all the armor down on port, and you'll see a considerable difference. So if I did that against a frigate at my level, and this is all level based, the money's proportional. But if I did that at my level, if I only hit one side until I sank, I'd probably get about 17,000 gold. By taking both sides down, I'd get closer to 25,000 gold. And you've got to remember that your missions, a lot of the time you spend in your missions is getting to them. So the more money you can make in the mission, the better. So spending that extra 2 or 3 minutes just to tack behind, do a stern rake, and then work on the other side, the ship still sinks. In fact, it sinks quicker if you take the armour off both sides, to be honest, because the crew can manage the leaks on just one side. So if you manage to take all the armour off the port, most of the armour off the stern, and all the armour off starboard, your opponent will sink more quickly. And you'll probably be taking even damage on both sides, so you'll be getting less module damage yourself. What I'll do is I'll then use one repair kit, go and do my second mission. I try not to use another repair kit. I try then to stop in port, pick up a new mission, and repair in port. It's much cheaper to repair in port. So, and another thing you can do with missions is do them with a friend, and if you do them with a mate, you can get 6 missions up, and of course you can perhaps do the higher missions, the ones that are above your level. Now I have to say, at my level, post captain, the higher missions get a bit hairy, because it's like constitutions and 2 constitutions, which even if I was good in a trink, is a little bit sort of hurty. So the next thing we can look at is AI. So you can kill AI. Now you can do this really one of 2 ways. You can hang around a popular port and people shout out the AI all the time, and you can jump in on the battle. But of course that's fairly unorganized. There might be too many players in there and not enough AI. You might be in there in some little doodle ship and they're all in there with third rates, and it's difficult for you to get a nice proportion of damage done. So what a lot of players will do is they'll get a couple of mates, and so I'm on the Brit side at the moment, so they might bugger off somewhere around here or here, so it's very safe. And there's lots of AI fleets going past, and then you and your mates just tag AI fleets and you lay out the damage. Now again, when you're doing AI fleeting, there's a couple of things you should be aware of. So you get gold for kills, for damage, for kills and assists. So damage is fine, you can spread that around, and the better you are, the more damage you do. Like most things in life, money goes to money, so the bigger ship you're in, the more damage you do, the more damage you do, the more money you make. But you do get a money bonus for an assist, and to get an assist you have to do 10% damage, at least, on a ship, at least 10% damage. And to get a kill, you have to do most damage on a ship. So if, say it's you and a mate, and you're both running around in bell pools or frigates or trinks or something, and you take on, let's say it's an equal size fleet of a bell pool and a frigate, it's probably a good idea, if it's you and a mate or you and a clanny, that you both work the ships together, so you both get your 10% in. And I wouldn't worry too much about farming who gets even cut of kills, just let that happen a little bit. So AI fleeting is good, so just remember when you're fleeting you need to get 10% damage to get the assist bonus, which is some extra gold, and most damage to get the kill. But at the same time you should not sink or put your friends at danger of being sinked by just running around and doing 10% on everything. Because when you are fleeting, especially against AI, you're typically going to be outnumbered, and it is important that you take guns out of the game. This is true in PvP as well. You can't just be running around sticking 24 cannonballs into each opponent so you get your 10% ticket. You've got to take guns off the ocean, so you do have to sink things. That is your priority, but just be mindful that, you know, if you're working on a Connie and a little Bell Pool sails by, it might be worth missing around on the Connie and sticking a round into the Bell Pool. And you just have to learn to manage that. Now, of course, the other way from fighting is PvP. So PvP, you get double bonus money. And in fact, I was in a port battle earlier this week. One of the lads fair enough, in a third rate, but he got 600,000 gold, right? 5 kills and 3 assists. So you can make oodles and doodles of money in port battles, and it's the same rules as it is for AI. 10% damage for the assist, and bonuses for the kill. But even more so in port battles, the more important thing is to win the port battle. If you get yourself into the luxurious position where you think you've won the port battle, then maybe you can just make sure you spray 10% damage onto a couple of peskies. Actually, even if you're going to lose and you know it's all over, Red Rover, you can choose to share the damage around just so you can earn yourself some more dollars to pay for replacing the ship you're about to lose. And then lastly, and very much the flavour of this week at least, is piracy. So with piracy, what you're probably doing is you're not doing AI fleets to sink them, you're targeting traders, and you're targeting traders so you can capture them. When you capture a trader, not only do you get their ship, which of course you can then sell. You can't sell it to players on the market. You could sell it to players in chat, but it's only got 1 durability. So it's a pretty low value commodity, but you can sell it back to the game. And selling a ship back to the game, and you can do this if you choose from your missions. To be honest, you'll a good way is you, if you can, is you work a ship down so you take off about 75% of the armor on all 3 sides so that she doesn't sink quickly, and then you cap her, and then you get a nice amount of money, and you can sell the ship back to the game. So you probably get twice the gold doing that, but it does take an extra 10 or 15 minutes to execute the cap. So piracy is basically that. You're going after traders. You're capping traders. Now, look, if you set yourself up in a l'ennemi or a nice fast trincomalet, one of the quicker ships, preferably a ship that you can crew easily with, say, Marines on, and some of the other boarding bonuses, the sword fighting handbooks and the likes, you can very quickly cap traders, and the advantage is, like I say, you can nick their cargo. Sometimes you have to take control of the trader because the cargo can't be put in your hold, and that way you can sell the cargo and sell the ship, and you get a little bit of money for biffing the trader. And of course, if you're a real PvP Denzian, then learn the trade routes of your enemies and camp their trade routes. So, you know, people might be taking a lot of stuff, say, from Georgetown over to Jamaica. Live here as a little pirate. Or really, this is piracy not only for the black flags, but for any enemy of the nation you're focusing on in the PvP scenario, and just knock their traders off. Obviously, as soon as you involve players, there becomes higher risk, because as soon as little Tommy Trader is about here and you start chasing him, he's going to be yelling in chat, and all his mateys are going to come sailing out here. So there is a risk, but you know, that's part of the fun quite often. And of course, you get double bonus dollars when you cap a ship. Now, the other thing is, when you cap a ship, if you're lucky, and it's easier to get with a player, you get any upgrades they get on it, and of course you can sell upgrades in the market too. So that's fighting. So it's just to recap fighting. It's missions, it's AI fleeting, it's getting yourself involved in PvP, be that sort of gang squads sailing around enemy waters or port battles, and piracy, be that AI piracy where you're capping traders, or player piracy where you're being a real dirty dog. So trading's the next one. Now trading, you got to be very wary that the game designers are trying to make this a game where the AI is not the predominant supplier. Players are meant to be the predominant supplier, and the AI is not to be meant to be the predominant demand. That's really meant to be players. So what does that mean? That means that what they're doing over time is they're giving players the ability to build and generate resources, and they're reducing the number of resources that towns provide automatically, the AI marketplace, and they're reducing the consumption by towns as well. But you can still make good money trading. So if we just go to the map here, we'll see down here that this produces pine, redwood, silver and stone. And then if we come up here, we might find, actually let's go here, we might find that this consumes various bits and bobs. Let's find one that matches that. So this there you go, this would be a good one. This consumes redwood and silver. So I could take redwood and silver from here and drop it off here and make myself a bit of money, and then probably pick up some compass wood on the way back here and sell the compass wood to Pedro. Okay, now when you're trading, you need to know what the port produces and consumes. The best way to do that is to sail there if you've never been there. So I've never visited our cloggy friends down here, so I've got no idea. But you visit them and you learn what they do, and you might want to make a note of the price. So compass wood is a great example. So let's imagine you're in a trader's snow. I can buy compass wood here probably for 520 to 540, and then I'll be able to sell it here for 600. So I can make 80 credits a ton, and if I'm in a trader's snow, I can carry 3,000 tons. Oh my God, Jeheil, we're going to be rich in a single morning. Well, not quite. This probably won't produce 3,000 tons of compass wood to start off with. And secondly, as you buy it, let's say I buy it for 520, typically by the time I'm buying the third or 400th ton, the price jumps up to 530. And then when I'm buying the 5th or 600th ton, the price jumps up to 540. Equally, when I'm selling it here at Pedro, I sell my first 200 tons for 600. But my third and 400 ton will now only sell for 580. So if I was to buy 3,000 here, half of what I'd be selling here, I'd be selling for a loss as the market gets saturated with my supply. Now there's a couple of things you can do. You can find 2 or 3 ports that want the thing you want and build yourself up a little trading route and dump off 400 here and 400 here and 400 here. Or you can stockpile it in a port, and you don't sell it on the same day, and you give yourself 2 or 3 different trade runs where you're not actually having to buy all the time. Now that, if you like, is what I call AI trading. You're buying AI produced goods and you're selling them to the AI, and you can see that. So if we come here to the shop, let's just move the chat gibberings down here. If we come here to the shop, we go to resources, you'll see here, for example, that where am I? Port Royal, the AI will buy ligand vitae log for 125. It'll buy Iberian meat for 150. Compass wood, sorry, that's what you buy it at, and that's what you sell it at. You see there's a big delta here. You won't be able to source compass wood for 401 from the AI anywhere. What does this consume? Live oak log. So let me have a little look around. So here's live oak. You can sell it to market for 150. So if you manage to find a source that made it for 110, you could do yourself some favors there. You'd make 40 credits a unit, shift 400 units. That's 16,000 gold. That's very nice. So AI to AI trading you can do. To me, it's a diminishing world as the developers try and move us away from AI produced goods and more towards player goods. That's really where the money is. So how do I make money on the player market with resource trading? So firstly, build yourself some buildings. So I'll show you one I've been doing recently that makes me a nice bit of money. So let me just find, where's silver? There's silver. So right now, if I come here, I can see there'll be what's called contracts, and we'll talk about how you do a contract in a moment. Well, in fact, we'll put a contract up in a moment. So this is telling me that this chap here, Akia, wants to buy 60 silver for 250 gold. Okay, and this is telling me here that Zujan will sell 66 gold for 375, and these are contracts. This is a stock market for all intents and purposes. Now, if I had myself some silver, and let's pretend I got it at a cheap unit price of 50 gold, I can do one or two things. I can sell this to IKEA at a guaranteed price of 250, so I'd make myself 12,500 gold there. Or I can put my own contract on to sell gold, and what I'll do is I'll have a look at this and say, well, look, this guy here, he's got 1,400 silver on. So I don't want to really have an order in behind him, so I'm not going to sell it for more than 380. Zujan is selling 66 for 375. You know what, I'm going to sell mine for 370, and I would put an order on to sell 370 gold value and however much silver I've got. Let's say I've got 400 silver. So that is the way to make real money, is to put contracts on, and a bit later in the video I'll demonstrate putting a contract on and how it works. So this is very good, Jeheil. I can make 360 per piece of silver. We are going to be magillionaires. True-ish, a bit, not really, sad, doesn't happen that way. You need to be able to get lots of silver. How can you get lots of silver? Well, the best thing to do is to build a building. So I've built outpost buildings. Here we go, let's move this out of the way. I've built myself a couple of silver mines. And they're the top level silver mines, they're level 3. And this basically delivers me 600 silver a day. It does cost me money, but the place I've built it at, it's quite cheap. So I think I'm getting it for about 40 or 50 gold a ton. So if I can sell that for 350 gold a ton, I'm making big money there. So, I mean, it's 30,000 a day I'm making from each of those mines. I've got 2 mines, so it's 60,000 a day. I actually only go and pick it up every now and again. So that's very nice. And that's a very good way of earning income. So this is where you're trading resources, and you're doing it by selling to contract rather than just selling straight to market. Now, I could sell my raw goods to contract. We'll just do an example of that there. Let me just go back to the shop and show you how to do that. So if we'll do silver. So we've got this one here. So if you were wanting to buy silver right now at Port Royal, you would have to pay 375 gold per silver piece. They're not silver pieces, per raw silver. So let's place a contract. So I want to sell, and then you can go and see all the things you've got here. So I'm going to sell silver, and it's given me a slider. I've got 557 silver at the moment. I'm just going to sell 50 because I actually use my silver. And I'm going to undercut what's his face and sell it for 370. So I'm going to get 18,500. So I'm actually making about 16,000 gold profit on this transaction, but it costs me 5% of the transaction to put it up. So I place my contract, just confirm, you're sure you want to sell 50 silver for 300? Yeah, that's what I want to do. Thank you very much. What it'll do is it'll send you a little email, I think, to say you've placed a contract. I'm on the Aussie, I'm in Australia, so someone else is using the internet right now, so any of the trading interface things take bloody years. But anyway, so that's me put that up, and if I say your contracts, it tells me I've got a contract. I can delete that, I lose my deposit, but I get my silver back. I can claim my contract once it's been filled. I have to come to port to do that. I can't do that remotely. And when it sells, I'll actually get an email saying contract fulfilled. So you'll see here I've got a whole bunch of contract fulfilled and ships sold and ship put on sale and all that sort of stuff. So that's how you put a contract up. What about crafting? Can you make money from crafting? Well, yes, you can. So first of all, you can craft ships. And if we go, say, to fifth rates, and we look at Trincomalee, you'll see there that a exceptional Trincomalee is up for $500,000. Just a common Trincomalee is up for 450,000. That's a bit steep, actually. And a grey, which means there's been no notes, no crafting notes spent on building this, is selling for 225,000. Now you can make a Trincomalee. Let me just get my, I need to open my spreadsheet here, sorry, to remind me how much a trink costs to sell, but it's not that much. I can make a trink for approximately, I've got this written down, come on Jeheil, this is boring, for approximately 120,000 gold at the prices I source things for. So you can make 100,000 making a trink, but it will take you, it's 2 days worth of crafting hours, or the best, not quite 2 days, but the best part of 2 days to build a trink. And that's without the crafting notes to give it a colour. But you can do that. So shipbuilding, I do craft, I like my crafting. So shipbuilding is a really good way of making money, but it's slow, and for me it's a byproduct of crafting. So I'm leveling up my crafting, and while I'm leveling up my crafting, I flog the ships that I make. I try and make them a bit nicer than that, although the grey ships are fine. People buy the grey ships, they're 4 durability, 5 durability, depending on their rating. So crafting's a good way, but really the real money, the big boy money from crafting comes from materials. So if we have a look here, silver ingots are selling for not very much at all, actually 250, but silver coins, let's find silver coins. Oh, medium carriages. So medium carriages is a good example. Medium carriages take a lot of crafting hours, so crafters hate them. Medium carriages are the things that hold your cannons. And so you can see here I can build a medium carriage. Now a medium carriage is some iron, some coal, a little bit of hemp. I can build a medium carriage for about half the price that I would be selling it direct to market there, and that's with store-bought resources, not resources from my own buildings. But I could sell them, probably I could put them on market for about 5,000 a pop, and they would sell. And if you look here, all of these items, if you go away and do the numbers on them, they're great value. Mid-grade notes, for me, they're a big money maker for me, so I could make a mid-grade note today. I think I've got the crafting hours available, and I could sell that for 87,000. I could sell it guaranteed for 60,000. And I could then put a contract on, well, I could sell it guaranteed for 60,000 to this contract here. These are both contracts. Or I could put my own contract up, say for 88,000, and undercut this chap and make myself some good money. Silver coins. So silver coins are really easy to make. They're just a bit of coal and a bit of silver. And they sell for 1,000 a pop. So that's bazooka's money, man. So you could undercut this fella by about, sell them for $9.99, an attractive price, $9.99 today only. And that's a really good way of making money, because 10 silver coins, you could actually buy the silver ingots, right, for 260. So you've got no silver at all. I could buy silver ingots for 260. I could buy coal off the market, wherever the hell it is, so it won't be in the resources. I can buy coal for 150 or whatever, and I can make silver coins for, let's say, 500 each. And I'm still making a mozza. So without leaving port, without even having to do a building, without even having to go to the pesky trouble of trading and going to pick resources up, I could buy coal off the market. I could buy already crafted silver ingots off the market, and I could produce silver coins probably at about 500 each, and I'd be making 500 a go, and all I'm spending there is my crafting hours, and silver coins actually don't cost that many crafting hours to make silver coins. If we go to craft here and we go to silver coins, so if I wanted to make 10 silver coins, it's only 10 labor hours, so you could do that a lot. So that'd be a great example of craft generated income. You can make the notes are the big money. That's where the big money is, but you have to spend money to make money with those, and you can only make 3 or 4 notes a day, just because each note burns a couple of hundred crafting hours. So that's what I call that's crafting. That's what I call player crafting, as opposed to player trading, as opposed to AI trading. And in this case, you're not trading resources, you're trading your crafted items. So with crafting, just a quick recap, you can make money in 2 different ways. One is by crafting ships as you go along and level your ship building up, but that's slow. It's kind of a byproduct of crafting. It's not really a targeted money-making scam, unless you get some of the really nice blueprints. So if you get yourself a Trincomalee blueprint, because that AI don't sell them, so you can only get those ships from the market or stealing them off other players. And of course the new Ingerman and the Lagros, they're rare, so they sell very well. As do the high-end ships, of course, they sell very well. So you can make big money off those, but again, it's big money every couple of days, and you have to spend a few hours to build a big ship, gathering the resources and crafting them and so on and so forth. But probably the really big money to be made is in components, and as you can see, you can probably just direct off the market without ever leaving. You can buy the subcomponents, silver ingots, and then go to the market and buy coal. Coal will be, it's usually around 100, no more than 100 even on a busy day. 65, so I could buy, so it's 2 to 1, I could buy 100 coal, 50 silver ingots, put them together, burn a few crafting hours, only 50 or 60 crafting hours, and I'd be making 500 a unit. So that's good money. Or you can go into the notes, but you'll only make 4 of those, but you'll make big money on the notes. You have to be aware that the higher end craft items need you to have a higher end crafting level, so you can't make a high note today. You need to be level whatever to make a high note, and level whatever to make a medium note. You can make small notes straight away. So that's crafting. And lastly, the oldest profession in the world is prostitution. So, what, Jeheil, there's prostitution in naval? Yes, of course there is. What you can do is you can sell your trading hours. You become a little trading prostitute, and you sit around in port chat. Or you sit around in local chat or whatever, and you offer to sell your crafting hours. Now, with everything I've spoken about, the most important part of all of these things is, which street corner do you stand on? So you need to find where your primary player hubs are. So Port Royal is the #1 player hub for the Brits, and I'm sure each of the nations, it's probably their nation capital. And then there's 2 or 3 other hubs where the big clans hang out. And that's where you make your money selling stuff. And so you can basically sell your trading hours. Now, you can't actually hand your trading hours over. What you're actually selling is you will do proxy crafting for the buyer. So someone comes along and says, I will pay you 100 gold per trading hour, right? So you get 1,000 trading hours every day, even as a newbie. And then they will give you materials. You'll put an X in here, and then they can click on your name and choose trade. They will give you materials, and there's a certain amount of trust in that, because you could run away and steal them, but then they'll report you, and everyone will hate you and chase you around, and you're a scumbag. And you'll be known as a scumbag for the rest of your life. It's an impossible tag to get rid of. So then you come in here and you craft things for them, and typically it's going to be in the they're going to ask you to do stuff for shipbuilding. So even when you first start off as a total noob, You can do some of the bits, cordigenocum, you can do canvas rolls, you can do rigging parts, iron fittings, cable and houses. These things all burn up hours, right? They all burn up labour hours for the crafter. Now, the higher level you are, the better things you can make. So once you get to a higher level, then you can start doing things like medium carriages, and medium carriages are a pain in the bum. So to produce 32 medium carriages uses a third of my labour hours. So if I was trying to build myself a victory quickly or whatever, and I need to produce a whole bunch of carriages, the carriages alone could burn a day's worth of hours. So as people start getting to the third rates and above, they start buying people's time. Now, of course, with prostitution, the best way to make money is to have regulars. We all know that from our experiences during university. So what you can do is you can find someone who's in your time zone. They're going to give you a price. It's probably going to be a discounted price because you're doing a guaranteed sort of supply and demand with them. You can sell them your hours for whatever you agree, and you'll see the prices bumping around. I don't sell my hours, and I don't need to buy them yet, but there's typically a price that sort of becomes the norm in a particular area. So let's say it's 100 gold an hour. In fact, I think that's quite low. I've seen higher than that. 100 gold an hour, you've got 1,000 hours, man, a day. So you can make 100,000 right there, and it maybe takes you 20 minutes sitting around in a crafting screen. Unless you're in Australia, then it'll take double that because our internet's made of wombat poo. As you do craft as a prostitute, of course your level will go up. You'll learn more skills, and you'll be able to make better things, and then you'll become more attractive to the buyers. Some guilds, if you're with a clan, they actually trade. They typically don't do it for money, but they do it for favors. So maybe you help someone for a couple of days crafting bits and bobs so they can make their pavel or whatever, and as a reward they build you a nice trincomalee. And that's about it. So let's just recap. 4 ways of making money. So actually, before we do that, don't spend your life just making money. I've only been here on this server for 14 or 15 days. I've got 600,000. That's plenty of pocket money. If my ship gets sunk, I can buy a new one. I can buy a good one for that amount of money. I've got how many have I got these days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a spare. So I've got 6 ports, so I can jump around the map easy enough, and I use some of those ports for AI fleeting, and some of them are our PvP hubs and so on and so forth. I've got my buildings, so I've got let's have a quick look there. I've got 2 maxed out silver mines, and a shipyard. And just another good idea. So with your resources for crafting or even for selling, typically I keep 2 of them at level 1, and I stockpile what I need for crafting, and then I flip them to something else. At the moment I've got coal and stone. I might, in another 2 or 3 days, once I've got 1,000 of each sitting there, which I maybe takes me 4 ship builds to get through that, I might flip these and delete them and build 2 new ones, and they might be iron ore and hemp because they're other big consumables, or they might be a live oak forest or something. That's another reason for having outposts in different places. You can set up your different buildings as you need them. So, fighting, trading, crafting, prostitution. That's how you make money in naval action. It's not that hard. Other than the first 2 or 3 days when I was setting myself up on this server, I've really not had a day go by where I've gone, if only I had the money I could do this. I've got enough money to buy a port wherever I want. I've got enough money to upgrade any of the buildings. I suppose I need to save up. My next goal will be to save up 800,000. I'll actually save to about 1.2 mil, and then I'll upgrade my shipyard, but I don't need it yet. And in saying that, I've just remembered one more thing. When you do build a ship, there is a chance a blueprint drops, and those blueprints sell very well. especially if it's something like a Trincomalee or the two new ships, the Gross or the Ingerman. You can't sell them in the shop. You have to sell them by hawking your goods in BritChat, for my case, or Port Royal, or actually because I'm part of a clan and we love each other. What we would do is I would give my blueprint to someone who can make that ship, and he would probably make me one because he loves me. The same goes with these things here, the higher level upgrades, which you get quite often when you capture a ship. You can sell those on the market. Not there though, there. You can sell those on the market, but you're probably typically better just put in a want to sell WTS, want to sell in BritChat, want to sell such and such a thing, and PM me with best offer, and you'll get half a dozen PMs. So there you go. There's a bit of a video on how to make money in naval action. It's how to make money without it becoming the focus of your entire life, which is a bad thing. I hope that helped. Please like and subscribe if you want to get more naval action videos. And I will see you on the oceans, and I will catch you.